Just announced by Judge Ismail, Advocate Dali Mpofu, making some remarks in court. We're joined by the spokesperson for former President Jacob Zuma, Mr. Mzwanele Manyi. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Manyi. Let's just begin with what came out of court there, an announcement of a pending appeal. What does the former president have in store?
Good morning, everyone. I think three things that we came here for, and we got all three things. The first one was to ensure that in terms of Section 11 of the Criminal Procedure Act, that the private prosecutor is here. If the private prosecutor, His Excellency President Zuma, was not here, the case would have been invalidated through that technicality. So the mere presence of him today has ensured that the criminal case is alive. That's the first thing. The second thing, we're here to also advise the criminal court that in the intervening period before getting here, that the civil court has excused President Ramaphosa from attending as the criminally accused here, pending the finalization of Part B. To explain that, the third thing was to get a way forward, and we've got a clear way forward that on the 26th of May, the criminal court will be sitting again, and by that time, we hope that technicalities about nolle prosequi certificates, about defectiveness or not of the summons would have been cleared. So the next date for these criminal proceedings is the 26th of May. Indeed, in terms of the announcements that the legal team has made, His Excellency President Zuma will indeed be appealing the judgment of the full bench in terms of this interdict and all of that. But what has not been finalized yet is which court is going to appeal it at, whether it's directly at the Constitutional Court or at the Supreme Court of Appeal. That matter will still be cleaned out by the legal team.
Mr. Manyi, you keep insisting that the court on Monday has actually said President Cyril Ramaphosa must not attend, but the court order is clear. It basically states that Mr. Zuma is being interdicted from prosecuting, from continuing with the prosecution of President Cyril Ramaphosa pending outcomes of Part B of his application. So even if you are here and the former president is here today, the fact of the matter is that the prosecution of Mr. Ramaphosa is not going ahead, isn't it?
It is going ahead. The reason we have, if what you are saying was true, you wouldn't be having a judge on red robes today. The reason you have a judge on red robes today is because the criminal case is alive in parallel, and the criminal case is going to work hand in hand with the civil proceedings on that side. This is the reason the criminal court today has set another date. You heard it, the judge pronounced 26 May from the judge's mouth. So I don't know why is it that's confusing you.
I'm not confused. If the criminal case is going ahead, as you say, what exactly then are you appealing?
No, we are appealing the interdict, the non-presence of the accused.
Where in the court order is it saying that the interdict is the interdict, where in the court order is it saying that the president must not come here? Because the order is clear that Mr. Zuma cannot proceed to prosecute the president.
I note your misunderstanding of the court order. Let me explain it to you very slowly. The interdict says two things. One, that President Ramaphosa is excused from attending this proceeding. Number two, the criminal prosecution of President Ramaphosa is basically suspended pending the finalization of the Part B of the application. So as things stand, there is no finality on the nolle prosequi dispute. There is no finality on the legality of the summons and all of that. But all of those things are not ruling out the case. This is why today we have a date pronounced by the criminal court judge of 26 May as a date for the criminal proceedings.
Mr. Manyi, in the argument or in the remarks today by Advocate Mpofu, he alluded that your appeal would be based on the fact that you believe that parts of the judgment or the order that led to the president not appearing here today were too broad Are you able to give us any indication on what the appeal would be based on?
I think that we will issue a statement and flesh out those areas. He just mentioned one area in passing, so I don't want to delve into that. But there are more than that, just too many things that the bench misdirected itself on, and the lawyers will point all of those out. One of them, for instance, as we pointed out last time, is the confusion that that bench made in not appreciating that these different courts have got different mandates. These different courts have got different thresholds of making decisions. As I pointed out last time, that with the civil court is balance of probabilities, with the criminal court it's beyond reasonable doubt. So you can't just make a statement and say a court is a court is a court. It's not. This is why today you have the judge in red robe. The red robe is not a fashion statement. It's an indication that this is a criminal case.
Sorry, Mr. Manyi, what would be the purposes of that appeal? What if the president is actually successful in Part B of the application?
The purpose of that appeal would be to set aside the interdict. Once you set aside the interdict, then it means all the arguments that President Ramaphosa wants to have, he can have them in the criminal court. Right now we've got an unnecessary situation where we've got two courts dealing with the same matter, and yet if you appeal and it's struck off or whatever, then it doesn't mean he cannot continue with his argument in the criminal court. He can still do that, which is what we're advising from day one, that these arguments can be made in a criminal court. There's no point in doing this kind of a confused process.
Well, the main contention, Governor, the main contention by the president is that he didn't want to be hauled before a criminal dock on summons that were not duly obtained. That's what they're arguing. So what would be the purposes of introducing this appeal at this stage if you still have Part B to deal with?
No, it's because even that argument is based on very weak ground. So at the Supreme Court of Appeal, it will be shown that that argument does not even have merit. It hasn't got legs to be shown at the Supreme Court of Appeal. And the Supreme Court of Appeal will be or if it's that or it's a constitutional court, whichever court it's appealed at, will see that there's really no point in waiting for that. The case must proceed.
Mr. Manyi, the ANC Secretary General had said that they want to meet with former President Jacob Zuma, try to intervene in this standoff. Has such a meeting happened, or has there been any communication between the ANC and the former president about their intention to meet?
Yeah, I'm here speaking on behalf of the foundation. I never get involved in ANC matters, so I have no clue. I just see headlines that the SG of the ANC is going to meet President Zuma and all of that. That's as far as I know, and I don't get myself involved in that.
What's the former president's view on the potential of resolving this out of the court?
I think when you write letters to the president, when you do all the kinds of submissions that were made before, this is an attempt to do things outside the court. Now, when those attempts don't work, when people don't do what they're supposed to do, then we have the situation that we have. This President Zuma is here because this is now a last resort.
What is the former president's view on the unprecedented nature of a former president taking a sitting president to court and then both of them still being members of the same political party?
I think this just shows, it's a very good thing. It just shows that in South Africa, rule of law is supreme. You don't say just because it's my friend, just because it's my comrade, and therefore rule of law must take second place. In South Africa, we have a constitutional democracy, supremacy of the constitution. Everybody is equal before the law. So this is just a display of that the fact that we are a president does not excuse you from being subject to legal processes.
Finally then, do you still have full confidence in the arguments that you present in Part B of that hearing, considering some of the leanings of the judge and what was written in the order regarding the strength of the case being brought in?
The interdict case was not about the merits, so I don't know where you get what you are saying in terms of leanings. Merits were not dealt with and all of that, and the NPA must still make a submission and clarify a few things and all of that. So all of that is still going to happen, and these are the things that His Excellency President Zuma took into account before getting to this stage. So we're very confident that we will cross that hurdle with ease.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Right.
Mzwanele Manyi. He's the spokesperson.
That was Desiree, Mr. Mzwanele Manyi, the JGZ Foundation spokesperson, just giving us further clarity regarding this private prosecution bid here at the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg. It appears that this legal showdown between the president and his predecessor will continue. The postponement date is now the 26th of May 2023, and Advocate Dali Mpofu, one of the representatives of the former president in his capacity as a private prosecutor, has stated that they intend to appeal the first round that we saw on Monday when the full bench delivered that judgment giving the president an interim interdict against this private prosecution, or rather the former president from giving any further steps to that private prosecution. They haven't confirmed whether they'll be heading towards the Supreme Court of Appeal or the Constitutional Court as of now. The postponement date is now the 26th of May 2023, and we know that Part B of the application of President Ramaphosa's challenge will be on the 17th and 18th respectively. Over to you in studio.